Good day, everyone. I am teacher Ray Sandy Abayan, and I am your teacher in the 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world. Today, we are going to learn the geographic, linguistic, and ethnic dimensions of the Philippine literary history from the pre-Spanish period to the contemporary. Specifically, we will be dealing on these four historical periods, namely, pre-Spanish period, Spanish period, American period, and the Japanese period. Our forefathers already had their own literatures which reflected their own customs and traditions. They already had their own system of writing even before they were colonized. It is said that the Spanish friars destroyed these literatures because these were believed to be the works of the devil. Some of these literatures were written in some very easy to perish materials, such as the bark of the trees, dried leaves, and bamboo cylinders. The pre-colonial Philippine literature consists of the following: folk tales. These are made up of stories about life, adventure, love, horror, and humor where one can derive lessons. An example of this is The Moon and the Sun. There were also epics. Epics are long narrative poems, a series of heroic achievement or events, usually about a hero. There were also folk songs. These are one of the oldest forms of Philippine literature that emerged in the pre-Spanish period. These songs mirrored the early forms of culture. Many of these have 12 syllables, examples of which are the Kundiman, Kumintang o Tagumpay, Ang Dalit o Himno, Ang Uyayi o Hele, Diana, Suliraning, and Talindao. During the Spanish period, literature is said to be classified into two. We have religious prose and poetry. The other one is the secular prose and poetry. Most literatures during the Spanish period were religious in nature, as the purpose of literature during this time is for the evangelization and for the propagation of the Christian faith. The teaching of the Christian doctrine became the basis of religious practices. It is also during this period that the early Filipino alphabet, called the Alibata, was replaced by the Roman alphabet. European legends and traditions brought here became assimilated in our songs, corridos, and moro-moros. There were also folk songs that manifest the artistic feelings of Filipinos and shows their innate appreciation for and love for beauty. The examples are Liron-Liron Sinta, Pamulinawin, Dandansui, Sarungbanggi, and Atikupong Singsing. There were many recreational plays performed by Filipinos during the Spanish period. Almost all of them were in a poetic form, such as the Sinakulo, Panunuluyan, Salubong, and Zarzuela. In the 19th century, Filipino intellectuals called ilustrados started to write about the hitch of the colonization. The propaganda movement in 1872 to 1896 was led by Filipino intellectuals such as Dr. Jose Rizal, Graciano Lopez Haina, Marcelo H. Del Pilar, and many more. Some of Rizal's writings include No Limitangere, Mi Ultimo Adios, Sobre la Indolencia de los Filipinos, and Filipinas dentro de 100 años. Meanwhile, during the American period, Filipinos were influenced linguistically that they started to write in English. However, Philippine literature was not exclusively written in English. During the American period, there were three groups of Philippine literature. We have Philippine literature in Spanish, Philippine literature in the dialects, and Philippine literature in English. Philippine literature was interrupted when another country, Japan, conquered the Philippines in 1941 to 1945. The common theme of most poems during the Japanese period was nationalism and love for the country, life in the barrios, faith, religion, and the arts. The most notable influence of the Japanese to the Philippine literature were the poems Haiku and Tanaga. These are the four significant periods in the development of Philippine literature. Let's take a pause and let us test what we have learned so far. Question number 1. This period in the literary history consists legends, folk tales, folk songs, and the like. A. Spanish period. B. Japanese period. C. Pre-Spanish period. D. American period. The correct answer is letter C. Pre-Spanish period.